Hello, everybody. My name is Lorraine Beaumont. I'm an executive and life coach. I'm the creator of the Shape Up model, and I have a NLP certification, negative emotion therapist, and I'm also a professional certified coach with the International Coach Federation. Today, I will be on the Online Prosperity Show, and I will be giving you a taste of my journey through trauma and healing and choosing myself, and now being that mango tree that people can sit under and heal. I look forward to being with you today. Thank you.
Now, welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Online Prosperity Show. I'm your host, Prosper Taruvinga, and as I've mentioned, you tuned into the #1 destination for exclusive insights into personal growth, leadership, and transformative journeys. Today, we're going to be diving deep into the theme of recreating yourself from the inside out. And I want to welcome Lorraine Beaumont to the show today. Lorraine, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Prosper. How are you doing?
I am doing fantastic. And pretty much after knowing exactly who you are and what it is that you stand for, you should see the goosebumps that just I had when I knew we were going to have this conversation.
Oh, yeah. So, what caused you to have goosebumps?
Absolutely. You see, I come from a place where women are actually the bedrock of our whole existence. And I think this is the one thing that you actually stand for. And I can't wait to share you and your story to the world today.
I love that. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Now, for those that are watching right now, our guest today is Lorraine Beaumont, as I've said, a leadership and life coach who is also a speaker and a founder of RecreateYou. And Lorraine's journey is nothing short of inspiring. From singing to trees as a little girl in Cape Town to climbing the corporate ladder, and now ultimately transforming her life after she faced personal traumas. Now, Lorraine embodies resilience and authenticity, and we're going to be diving into all of those things. So before you touch that dial in this episode, be prepared to discover Lorraine's early life and the challenges that she faced while she was growing up in post-apartheid South Africa, and her corporate career, and also all the pivotal moments that then led her to re-evaluate her path. And we're also going to be talking about the creation of her Shape Up, which is trademarked, and this is a model which she uses to help others heal and lead authentically. And we're also going to be looking into the insights of her current work with the individuals and organizations that she is working with and spearheading for, and also how you too can be a part of what she's doing and connect with her and benefit from her services. But also as a listener or somebody who's watching this right now, as you listen, I want you to consider this. Have you ever maybe felt the need to reinvent yourself, or maybe do it not only for yourself, but for a bigger cause? I want you to share your thoughts in the comments below, because your experiences could actually resonate with others, and we can create a community of people that are inspiring change as we, connect on the internet today. And also, while we're listening, I want you to notice that we're going to be talking about the power of vulnerability, self-awareness, and intentional transformation. So some topics might cause you to rethink your own existence or things of that nature, please be advised that seek out services that might be of help that are near you. And it's just a reminder for each and every one of us that our past does not define us, but it can actually inform us into an empowered future that we can then stay connected with or become the bedrock of our very existence. Now, Lorraine, I could go on and talk about things that I'm not even qualified to talk about. You told me earlier on that you used to sing to trees as a child, and particularly a mango tree. Now, how did this imaginative play now influence your ability to start connecting with others? And what was the purpose of it all when you were growing up?
Okay, so I grew up in apartheid, in the apartheid era, where you were very much judged on the color of your skin, you know, also your status, your financial standing. So coming from a colored community, you found that there were many coloreds who really wanted to fit in with the whites. They had that opportunity to also be classified as white. And they had to go through this humiliating test, which was called the pencil test, where they stick a pencil in your hair. And if it falls through, you could be classified as white, provided that your skin was also light. And I was the brown child in the family, and I had the curly hair. And I also went through many personal challenges. So, there was some molestation when I was little, abuse. I was bullied at school. I was teased for my appearance. I was this fat girl with the curly hair. And my dad, the man that I knew as my dad, died when I was 4 years old. And then a short while later, another man came and he announced himself as my father. And this was all very confusing for me, but my little body couldn't articulate all the emotions and the confusion that I was going through. So with the abuse, with being unable to use my voice, with the fact that I had to shrink myself, I couldn't be accepted and loved the way I looked, the way I sounded, and, the circumstances that I came from. I found solace in a mango tree that was at the back of our yard. And mango trees were so huge and engulfing. Presence of the mango tree, I didn't feel like the mango tree accepted me, didn't expect me to be perfect, and it listened without judgment. So that's where I was able to sing songs, create songs, and give it all, without any judgment. And that was the place that I felt safe. So yeah, that was my mango tree. And I'm also busy writing a book, and the mango tree kind of threads in, that theme is relevant throughout the book, because now today I feel like I have become that mango tree where people can sit and feel safe and unjudged and share their stories authentically and just let go of all the boxes and all the masks and just be.
Thank you. Thank you for taking us through that. And having grown up pretty much past that era myself, and yet the remnants of all of that would have gone a little bit softer. I can only imagine what it would have been like, you being that mixed race child who, first of all, you did not belong anywhere. You were neither white nor black.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like you also started not to feel like you belonged in your own home.
Correct, yeah.
Now that's a lot for a 4 year old to sort of take in. Were there any other people at least around, maybe the other siblings or mom, who would have been there to at least talk to you?
So it was really taboo in those days to speak about your body, to speak about sex, to speak about emotions. And I think that, our parents came from their own backgrounds of trauma. So my mom had lost two husbands. She was trying to deal the best she could, you know, with her circumstances. And I think in an attempt to numb whatever pain she was feeling, she became an alcoholic. And it was very lonely in my home. And I had my sister who did the best she could to be that figure for me. Um, but she was a perfectionist. And again, it made me feel like I was not enough. So, it was all these things that constantly, and I would get the message that, the man who came to claim the title of my father after my dad died, claimed the title, and then he disappeared. He was absent in my life. And it was very confusing. And then I would hear things from my mom like, your dad can't even pay 40 Rand a month maintenance for you. And I got all these messages from very young. You're not worth any man's money. You're not good enough. You're not pretty enough. And the only time that I felt accepted was when I was singing or when I was achieving academically. And you learn, as you go through life to give people what they want in order to receive that love and acceptance. And then you start that journey of fitting yourself into those boxes that other people have molded for you, because we molded by society, we were molded by apartheid, we were molded by religion. And I mean, when you went into church as well, it was like God is watching you. And I was judged for the way I came into the world. It was not through a nuclear family. So I was a sin to begin with. And these things start to give you that feeling of shame and guilt. And I really need to try to be perfect and try to be this good girl, this good student. And I have to try to do everything right in order to get some kind of love and acceptance. Because as I am, I'm not acceptable. So it becomes striving to kind of perfect yourself in order to be seen and heard.
Absolutely. See, I've listened to Trevor Noah, and
Mm,
he's got
yeah,
a skit that he calls bonus scene, and how he would have been growing up and the parents or the mom would hide him just because
yeah,
obviously of his skin color.
yeah,
And
yeah.
obviously, was that also something that happened to you? As because obviously all of this would have been really just piling on top of each other, and just not only school, I mean, not only home, but also maybe the whole environment just did not accept you as a person, and the only solace was that mango tree.
Yes. Yeah, Trevor Noah, he named it. He named it with such clarity, born a crime,
When a crime,
because
yeah.
colored people were seen as a victim, the product of rape, because this is what happened in those times when the black woman would be raped by the white men, when they were slaves. And you know, that's what our plight was. You know, when white people looked at us, it was with shame and guilt, and because we had spoiled their royal blood, because, you know, it reminded them that they had actually gotten together with the people that they had really, put down, and the people who were slaves and who were not worthy. And then black people would look at you and say, well, you're the product of our trauma. So it became it became very difficult. And also, amongst the colored people. So my dad had another family, and he had kids who were light skinned with blue eyes. And here I was, this dark child with curly hair who was very curvy, you know. And I didn't fit that picture because I was not white enough. And I even wrote the poem Dark Angel, which, speaks about my experiences of just wanting to get away from all that being dark, being curly, being curvy. And I needed to push that girl so far away, and I had to repress her so that I could fit in and be what society needed me to be in order to be accepted.
Absolutely. Now, you then went on and, like you said, started people pleasing in terms of being very astute and being very good at school. Wasn't that pushback in the school halls as well, or in the school corridors? What were the other children like?
Well, I was really bullied because, so the fact that you were achieving academically and you were this good girl in class, you kind of got to be the teacher's pet. But out in the sports field, I sucked. You know, I wasn't confident because I was fat. And, uh, I wouldn't take chances of running and doing things like that because I just felt like my fat would be jingling, And yes, I would be ridiculed by the other kids for not being fast enough. And so I really shied away from that. And yeah, I would be teased for my ears. Well, that was something that was, so, I have my dad's ears, and most of my life, I'd kept my ears covered. My mom used to say, cover your ears, and I always had hairstyles that would cover my ears because I was so ashamed of them. This was a recent thing where I decided to chop it all off because I want to embrace who I am really authentically. These are my ears. I love them. This is my body. I love it. So, yeah.
And thank you. Thank you for doing that. It will be apparent a little bit later as we go along. Now, from school, obviously, you couldn't show your ears. You couldn't exercise or run just because of that sort of stigma that you were facing at that particular time. But you then went on and joined the corporate world, and you held really significant roles in this space. Let us know what sort of roles you were in, and what sort of aspects of that experience do you find now very valuable in the work that you're doing?
Okay. So, so when, so after all my life trauma, I decided to study psychology, which I found very interesting because it made me alive to what my own challenges were and where they originated. But I found that psychology was keeping me in the past because I had my past to blame. I had my parents to blame. I had the systems to blame. And it didn't really make me take responsibility and address the roots of my dysfunction or of my limitations. And so I went into corporate. I was a company secretary for many, many years, state-owned companies. And at this point, we were in that era of the democracy. Okay, so there was affirmative action, employment equity, but I found that the apartheid lingered. It was ingrained in corporate culture. And you know what happens in Marxist theory? It's like when you're abused, you become the abuser. And when you were oppressed, you become the oppressor. So I think what I found was that there was so much toxicity in organizations because women have to really, really work twice as hard to reach the top. But we're also navigating the different roles that we have to fulfill. So you out there trying to be a good mom. In most cases, we are single moms. Okay. And cognizance is not taken of this in the corporate world because it's really cutthroat. Okay. So you've come from this place where men are in power, specifically white men. And, you come with all this baggage of not being enough, not fitting in, and you really need to prove yourself. And so you actually reach this place of burnout, and you find that actually women, the Black women who have been there, who have been oppressed, become the oppressors, and they do anything to kind of reach the top. And they are the ones that actually become what we fought so hard to dismantle, with our fight for freedom and for democracy. And I found that with a lot, so I had another trauma in my life where my son's dad died. And then my mom died. And I went to Durban to bury her. And I was hijacked at gunpoint by 4 men. And this trauma that I had gone through was used against me by a woman boss. And I was suspended from my job, and it was at this point in my life that I thought, something has got to change. And it's funny how life takes you through. We suffer so much because we want to resist these tower moments in our lives. We don't want them. We don't want to go through them. But it's the perspective that we look at things from. So instead of saying, I don't want this, if I can welcome this and say, so what do I need to learn from this situation and where is it taking me? And I found that that was taking me towards my purpose. It was propelling me, towards what I was meant to do. And that's when I came across coaching. I did an NLP course while I was at home. And I was thinking of going further with my psychology and actually becoming a psychologist, but I came across coaching and I said, well, this resonates so much with me, you know. And when I did that NLP course, I found that the power was within me to create whatever future I wanted. And all these things were, in fact, my creation. And even if we don't know it, we are creating. Okay. And then I have to look at myself because now I am the expert in my own life. I am the architect of my own destiny. And all this time, I've been living so unconsciously and on autopilot and just allowing things to happen. And you know, ignorance is not an excuse. So, you know, when the student is ready, the teacher arrives. And that was my teacher. That was my teacher. That trauma was my teacher. And that was my turning point where I found that this is actually what I want to do with my life. And Shape Up was born through that because all my life I felt like I didn't fit in. I was a square peg trying to fit into a round hole in corporate. It was so painful. I had to chip away at parts of myself to fit in. And that damages you. But when you find your shape in the world, it becomes magical because things fall into place like a puzzle, you know.
I like that.
So that's how Shape Up came about.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for driving us to that part, because where we were playing was just obviously it is your story and it is your journey, and so much had to happen for you to shape up. You know, like
Absolutely.
if you really look at all the things that transpired, like, you know, the events of you being young, all obviously up until the transversities you faced in the corporate world, at school, the passing on of mom, the passing on of, you know, your then partner, husband at that particular time. Just so much was happening. But you mentioned something, that you were the cause of all of this. And this only takes a certain level of understanding of how everything else works, that we are co-creating the existence of whatever is happening in our own world. I just want you to clarify that a little bit, because so many people will be holding on to each and every one of those traumas and saying, woe is me, instead of what you did, which is take ownership of, now I'm going to break the pattern of all these bad happenings and shape up.
Yeah. So, you know, I think the need to ruminate on my past and say, you know, this happened to me. I think it takes a change in your perspective, because when we look at things differently, the things that we look at, the things that we're looking at actually change. You know, so where your attention goes, energy flows. And am I going to give energy to something that I didn't choose, that was never my fault to begin with? So if I start to look at this and say, you know, well, my abusers had their own trauma and it wasn't my fault. You know, my dad probably had his own story. My mom had her own story, but those are not my stories to hold on to. And I choose from today what I own. And what I do have power to own is where I'm at in this present moment. And I have the power to start creating what I want to see happen in my life. So what is that vision that I have for my future that I can create? Okay, things have been done to me, and I acknowledge that and I accept it. But now today I choose to let it go with love and with acceptance, because we can only start to create a different future when we love and accept our past, we accept ourselves, and we know that I am, and therefore I am worthy of love, and I am the one. My relationship with me sets the tone for every other relationship in my life. So that relationship I had with myself had to change. And I had to stop introjecting. Because when I introject, then I start to project this. And this is the reality I create. And it's what I receive, because everything is energy. It's about what I put out there. So what am I going to start? What frequency am I going to start operating from so that I can attract like?
Now, Lorraine, anybody else who would have come across this and maybe discovered this newfound knowledge, because from what you're saying and from what I'm understanding is life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. So that carjacking in Durban literally was the thing and the catalyst to now ushering you into this newfound way, because I'm thinking, had that not happened, it would have maybe prolonged the journey that would have taken you to actually start shaping up. But my actual question now is, when you discovered all of this, somebody would have been you know what, I've had my own fair share of troubles and traumas and personal, things. Now that I've found this, let me just sit with it. But you went on and you wanted to share this with everybody else. What gives?
Well, I really believe that I'm not here for myself. And I really believe that whatever I have been through is an opportunity to help others to navigate similar challenges. So, I found that in using my Shape Up model, I didn't even realize it at the time. But then when I would take people through this, because, in coaching, we were taught different models, and the most used model would be the grow model, and I thought that this was very, very basic, and it was very surface level. And I wanted to give people an experience that would not be surface level. I wanted people to walk away with the deep transformation that would actually contribute to all different parts of their lives. So I said, people don't come to me for quick fixes. They come for me for enduring transformation. And that can be found in the model itself, because that is how I created it, based on the psychological theories that really resonated with me and helped in my own transformation. And one very important one that I used is Ken Wilber's integral theory, because I love that view that everybody is right and has value to add. And, that was such an awakening for me, because we come to every conversation wanting to be right. But when I start to come and I start to look at situations, look at things with curiosity rather than judgment, and trying to understand rather than to be right. So, wow, it's really interesting that this is happening in my life.
Absolutely.
Let's investigate. And that is the approach that we take, because we take so much time trying to understand other people in order to be pleasing and in order to be accepted. But how much time do we use investigating ourselves? We push ourselves aside and we say, no, I need to be this person that's going to be the people pleaser, that's going to be the rescuer, and that's going to be everything to everybody because I need to look the part. I need to look accepted. I need to do what people want. But what do I want? What makes me happy? What sets my soul on fire? And those are the questions that we need to start asking. I mean, we grow up unable to explore our own bodies. It's like having a smart TV, Prosper. It has all these functions, but you just use the on and off button and maybe a channel here and there. You don't understand all the functionality of the smart TV and how it can benefit you. But because we shamed so much, we have so much guilt and shame and, hang-ups about what we've been taught, that we start to disconnect from ourselves and we don't even know who we are before the world told us who we should be. So that's the journey that we go on. Who are you before the world told you who you need to be? And why are you here? And what does that look like? And what do we need to do in order to get there?
Absolutely. And I mean, obviously, all this rings true, Lorraine. Like, you've really made a big transformation, and it's a hard thing for so many people to grasp that you can change, and that the power of change lies not externally, not in a book, not anywhere else, but within yourself. And you underwent that transformation yourself. First of all, congratulations. And second of all, please, if you can name 5 of your friends, I will rest my case. How many people actually understand you where you live now in the mindset that you now operate in? Because everyone else still operates from the older Lorraine setup. Is it difficult for you to connect with other people who are still holding on to the contrails of the past and whatever traumas that they had, and how are you navigating that?
Yeah, that is a very it's a very important thing, in this journey of transformation. It's about setting boundaries. So it's boundaries for myself, firstly. What am I? Who am I? What am I willing to accept? And it's also setting boundaries for other people. So it affects all your relationships. I mean, I've let go of relationships, romantic relationships. I think my family, some of them think that I've left the faith, like.
That's why I said count 5.
And yeah, I think, some people would think I'm pretty weird.
Yeah.
But, I have chosen me. For too long, I chose what other people wanted for me. And I've chosen their story without questioning. But when I started to question, things became so clear to me. And I am choosing my truth unapologetically. So I mean, you find your new tribe, you find them, you know, and it doesn't matter if I have to let go, because letting go of old patterns, of old beliefs, means that not everybody is going to agree with my new path, and that's okay. That's fine. But I know that I'm sleeping at night. I know that I'm authentic, and I know that I'm true to myself.
Absolutely, absolutely. And obviously, I wanted to lead us into this. You've gone on and created your own tribe, because if the people
Yeah.
around us obviously would never sit for 5 minutes with you and really think, wait a minute, or start looking at the wallpaper and just wondering what's on TV. You were talking about a smart TV. Now, tell us about the community that you've built and what it does for other people, and how, like you have said earlier on, you have now become the mango tree for others that are on the journey that you're on.
Yeah. So I found it very interesting, that a lot of the women that I work with were going through, and when I said that you go through things so that you can help other people to navigate them, it is so true, because I'm finding, when I work with organizations, that toxicity is so, so ingrained in the organizations. Women are burning out. They are, they are putting on this front of being the strong ones at the cost of their own mental health. You know, they are being the glue that holds everything together. But in the inside, they're falling apart, and it's all because we are not able to name and address the elephants in the room. Okay. Because we're so afraid of what this will unleash, what monsters it's going to unleash. So it's always what we think about things. I was saying to my granddaughter the other day, because she had a splinter in her foot and she didn't want me to take it out. So I said, do you realize that it's how you're thinking about this? It's what you're imagining that's actually causing all your suffering. Because, and then she just gave me a foot for 1 second, and I took it out so quickly. I used a tweezer. She didn't even know it was out. I said, you see the story that you're telling yourself? Those monsters that are in your mind are actually stopping you from doing things. Okay, so it's those things that we create in our minds. We go back to our trauma of the past. Okay, so if I use my voice, or if I let myself be seen, I'm going to possibly offend all these people in power, and then I'll be ostracized, or I won't be given any promotions. That's the story we're telling ourselves. So Imbogodo Ascend is a woman in leadership program that I have developed for women in corporate who are going through navigating, this imposter syndrome, burnout, the ingrained cultures that apartheid has left us with. Because the truth of the matter is that we cannot move forward. We can have all the policies on paper, but if we don't heal, Prosper, we cannot move forward from the past. It's just like I had to heal from my past trauma. It's the same in organizations. It's the same in our country. And as women, how do we address all the effects that apartheid has had on us as women, and rise up and ascend and be all that we can be? So I use my shape up model to look at the story, and let me just give it to you quickly. S is for setting a sacred foundation. So that is where we talk about, how the space is going to be sacred, safe, and non-judgmental. That's where we establish trust in the relationship. H is honoring your history and your holistic journey, because we don't leave parts of us. We bring every part of us into this room, and we have to honor it. But then we also have to look at how it's standing in our way. Okay. So A is, what is the aspiration? What is the vision now? That I know what my beliefs, my patterns that are affecting where I am right now. And then P is where we provoke thought and insight. So I have this aspiration, but I need to have insight into what beliefs, what mindsets, what behaviors, and what are the stories that I'm telling myself that are stopping me from reaching this aspiration that I want. Okay, and then E is empowering through embodied exercises. So that's where we take a new belief and we embody it with, how do I embody this new truth? Okay. We have to do something every day to embody our new truth, our new self. And then UP is, what am I undertaking and what is my progress towards my purpose? And that is the model that I developed for this journey.
Wow. And I think we've actually really just shaped up today, because we really did set a sacred foundation when we started today, when, we connected and we honored your history and your past by just going through your life story and your experience and everything else that transpired, which has made you to be the person that you are. And, the times you would go and sing under a tree just for comfort, and then all the aspirations that you had during your corporate days, just wanting to do more, be more, and have more, and all of that then got us to start really provoking the insight and thought of, wait a minute, in my whole entire life, I've been looking at it the wrong way. I've been looking at the past instead of figuring out what the future has in store for me. And not only has that empowered you, but now it has allowed you to now start empowering others to be, do, and have a happier existence themselves as well. And this is now just an undertaking by people communing in the community themselves. And obviously the progress is now in the work that you're doing and helping others really, really come to their own realization of who they are. Did we shape up today?
I love how you've just mapped that out, Prosper. You have such a good understanding, and you're very present, and you're a very active listener. Thank you.
For those that want to join and be a part of Imbokodo, what would they do, or where would they go on the internet to get started?
Okay, you can catch my LinkedIn profile. You can look for Lorraine Beaumont. You can also look for my group. It's a group of women that I've created. It's called Imbokodo Ascend. And if you want, my website is under reconstruction at the moment, but I will share that on my LinkedIn page as soon as it is. And then I can be contacted at lorraine.beaumont@recreateyou.co.za.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'll definitely make sure that all those links are in the show notes and people can really get started on their journey so that they too can go through that experience. Now, Lorraine, obviously we've gone through the shape up method, but I viscerally believe your life story and your experience have so much value for so many people, that giving the example of your granddaughter who just had a little splinter which only needed a tweezer, your experience had so much depth that it didn't need a tweezer, it needed a shake up. And you definitely came to the party for that. And this is now why it's easy for you to just send the elevator down and use a tweezer to just take off whatever little problems that people of today are facing.
Yeah, yeah.
First of all, I honor the journey that you went. I mean, obviously, nobody wishes that upon anyone else, but I really feel like it is the actual rock that now gives you the podium to be able to sit and talk in front of us in the podium. If you would have that opportunity to maybe just walk by that mango tree and you see young Lorraine back in that time, I know you don't want to talk about, the past in the way that you think, but I want to just hear, if you could speak to that younger Lorraine right now, what sort of advice would you give to her while she's singing her lungs out, knowing what you know about life and how it went on?
What I'd want to tell her is that I love you and I see you, and I will never abandon you. And, none of that was your fault. So just know that you are loved and you are accepted because you are. And you have so much value to bring to the world. And, I would say to the mango tree, thank you. Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for being there, being a place where I could express my creative voice. And I'm so grateful that I now have become that mango tree where other people can come and sit and share their stories without judgment, without needing to be perfect, but just be and heal. And, in my book, I go into the significance of the mango tree. Like, it's really significant in so many different religions and cultures. And I actually didn't realize it at the time. And actually, my favorite fruit until today is a mango. So, yeah, there's a lot of, yeah, but the book is dropping soon as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now that you've brought us into your world, I mean, obviously you've also mentioned that there's a book coming. What else can we expect? What are you cooking up that we can be excited about and join in and celebrate with you in the future?
Yeah, well, I'm actually working on, I recently moved to Cape Town, so I will be working on, actual retreats where I will take people through a healing journey, specifically healing the inner child. That is my personal work. I do leadership development programs. So there's the Imbogodo Ascend program, and I'm also busy with programs for pre-grad and post-grad in organizations, so that we get it at the beginning, Prosper. When you start your working life, I mean, if we had gotten into corporate with a better view and a clearer understanding of what kind of leaders we want to be, we wouldn't have had to go through this whole, everything that we go through. So I think my work can be used as a prevention tool, you know, instead of always curing
I like
the
that. I
trauma
like
that's
that.
already happened. Yeah.
Now, Lorraine, I can't thank you enough for the time that we spent on the call today. I mean, I've said this before, but your life story and your experience have so much value for a lot of people that haven't realized, first of all, their voice or honored their own past in order for them to have a stepping stone for the future. And I really appreciate and applaud you for having gone through what you went through, because with what you now have, you're now the rock for other people as well.
Thank you so much. And thank you for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you. And thank you for giving me. Yeah. I hope that we can, I hope that we can connect again soon, perhaps when my book is ready.
Absolutely. I was about to say, Lorraine, I mean, obviously, we all have established you were born a crime, but you have now actually committed a big crime on the online prosperity show, because you mentioned you have a book, but you didn't promise that you're going to come and launch it with us on the show. So may you please correct that?
Yeah, definitely. I will keep in touch and I will let you know when it's ready to be launched. And I'm very excited about it. I mean, um, I I gave my friend, the first two chapters to read, and she said she had goosebumps right throughout. So it's going to be a memoir, but also it's going to provide, the inner work at the end of each chapter, so that as you're going through that journey, you are healing, So yeah, that's going to be the format of the book.
Absolutely. I will definitely close this call today and go grab myself a mango, just in honor of your journey, things like that. But thank you so much for joining us on this enlightening episode of the Online Prosperity Show. And for those that are watching right now, obviously Lorraine's journey reminds us that transformation is possible. I mean, no matter where we start. And if her story resonated with you, please share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's just really continue the conversation and support each other in our growth journeys. And while you're at it, maybe share this episode with somebody who hasn't quite figured out why certain things and certain people keep appearing in their existence. And maybe just hearing what Lorraine had to say about that, because our inner world really shapes our outer world. And it is something that somebody has to understand themselves intrinsically in order for them to start having a happier existence. And while you're at it, don't forget to subscribe for more episodes that obviously aim to inspire and empower. Because in our next episode, we're going to be exploring ideas that will help you lead a happier and more fulfilled life. Until then, stay prosperous. Bye for now.